Right, well, what happened here yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, I suppose, is just a minor spark that really set off probably quite a few tensions that have been existing and bubbling around for a while. It was just some seemingly innocuous action, and I don't think we really know what really kicked it off. But it was it looked terrible. It was a bit hair-raising there for a while, but I mean, we were able to sort of settle the tensions, separate the parties, and we worked on it from there.
How did you feel? You were there on the front line yourself, unarmed, pushing people back and trying to calm tensions. How did you feel?
Oh, it's I haven't really had the opportunity to reflect on how I felt. It was just an instinct, just what needed to be done. I wear a blue shirt just like my officers do too, so there's an expectation, and I just stepped up to that. It was just something that needed to be done. It's not just quell that situation at the moment, but it's trying to maintain a level of quiet and peace within this area, within this community. It's been significantly disrupted by the events over the weekend, and we need to sort of stretch our mind further, and these people who live here need to have some level of reassurance and peace as well.
Was it taunting? Was it taunting from both sides last night, or one was sort of antagonising the other?
It really kicked off with one person just antagonising another, and I said tensions were just that raw and that fired up at the time that it just took one minor incident and set it off. It set about a chain of events. So, obviously someone's to blame. We're not in the position to sort of say who, but there'll be a lot of finger pointing. But we need to build on from there. We need to work from there just to try and get a level of calm in this neighbourhood and really settle this situation down and stop a reoccurrence. That's my job.
Were you armed when you went in to confront them? What did you do to try and quell the anger?
Well, it's a case of just talking to both parties about listening to one side, obtaining a version, talking to the other side, and just trying to mediate and try and settle the tensions that were going at the moment. But for some reason only known to those people involved, they decided to not pay any attention to that or not listen. So I said, you're dealing with heightened emotions, you're dealing with significant amount of tension within the area, so I don't think there was much of a place there for reasoning or logical argument.
How would you describe your officers' actions? Basically, they were coming up against some big guys. How would you describe their actions last night?
Just quite admirable under the circumstances. I said the last thing we wanted is for those two groups to get together, and it would have escalated from there, and who knows what the consequences would have been. But it was my intention and our intention just to maintain a level of peace, to keep those people apart, because no good would have come from that. It would have been terrible, there would have been injuries, and we would have lost from that point on. So it was my intention to stop that and put some oil on the water, so to speak.
When this all happened, and it did happen very quickly, as you said, and escalated quite quickly, there were a number of police officers here, but you obviously sent in reinforcements after that. Was there any thought to bringing in extra or more police earlier, or was this something that came out of a surprise?
It was a surprise yesterday. We never envisaged that would have happened, but at the height of it yesterday, we had about 40 police present. We were able to maintain a staff number of 18 overnight, just as a present, act as a deterrent. And at the moment, we've got about 15 police on the ground. But that said, we have got a significant number of resources available today on the ground, and they will be here at a moment's notice. But I am anticipating that there will be no further trouble today, no further flare-up today or in the future. We're working together with the Department of Communities, working together with the council to try and get this matter resolved and get the community back to a safe and comfortable way of living.
Did leaders shake hands last night or not? Did anyone shake hands last night?
There were a number of representatives that met. We were able to facilitate a meeting between various representatives. There was some level of compromise, there was some level of peace being able to brought about. It was just a matter of keeping, if I can put it, keeping the hotheads away from each other. They're the ones that won't listen to reason, won't listen to logic, and they're the ones that have really kicked all this off. So if we keep the hotheads away from each other and keep the logical and rational thinkers in there, good will be achieved out of it.
Pam Parker, it's not a good look for Logan, is it?
Oh, this is a shameful look, and it's brought our city into disrepute. And I do want to applaud Superintendent Noel and the police officers for putting their bodies on the line. They did an awesome job, and they've been pleading for calm, cool, level-headedness, and they've done a great job working with the elders and these two families and to bring calm today.
Are you meeting with the families today?
What I'm doing is coordinating a ministerial safety summit. I've been in contact with different ministers today, and I want to coordinate that down in Logan, where we can have the relevant ministers from the Minister of Police, the Department of Housing, communities, multiculturalism and employment coming together to look at existing issues and the short-term issues and long-term issues that may need to be addressed in this area.
I mean, obviously this began as a fight between two families, but it's been inflamed by some form of tension. Is there a lot of racial tension?
That's what we want.
These two groups?
We want to have a summit to find out if that's the situation, and I also then want to have meeting with different community representatives to see what the undertones are. What am I hearing? Look, there's tension between these two families, and there's tension at all different times in all cities between different. We're a very multicultural city, and we get on very harmoniously most of the time. This is something that's brought our city into disrepute, and I reiterate, less than 1% of our community are doing the wrong thing. 99% are good, decent families living in Logan, loving life in Logan, raising wonderful young achievers, and we're very proud of our community, and I absolutely deplore when this sort of situation brings our great city into disrepute.
What do you think about Pacific Islanders, the MP that's come out on Twitter and basically implied that everyone needs to get a job, and he's said some quite inflammatory comments?
I think when you're in leadership, you have to be responsible in your comments, and I don't think that was conducive to the situation. The police have been putting their bodies on the line. They don't need any politician making inflammatory comments at this time. I'm sure the police don't appreciate it when they're dealing with such a difficult situation.
The Pacific Island leaders are saying that they think a good measure would be to form a committee where there's a representative from every culture. So when something like this does happen, you can call upon that committee, they come together and sort out the issue, rather than scrambling at the last minute to meet with elders and leaders.
Look, I think that's got merit. I think what will happen after we've had the Ministerial Safety Forum, we will then have a community forum and we'll get that sort of feedback. Council will take feedback from the community, we'll take feedback from the Ministerial Forum, and we'll put together a plan that Council can implement with the state and federal government and the community over a 2-year period. We don't want to see a repeat of this again. Our city does not need to be brought into disrepute, and if there are underlying tones, we need to know about them and work proactively. One thing we've done, we've learnt in the past, Logan recovers from these sort of situations, and we go on from strength to strength. Our community rallies together to find solutions, and that's what we're about, coming together, finding solutions with all different levels of the government, working with the police force. But it's going to take a collaborative approach from federal government, state government, working with the council, the police force and the community as a whole to find solutions, long-term solutions for this situation.
Are these young people, these hotheads as you described them, even listening? Is it one thing to have a committee saying, please don't do this, guys, but what if they don't listen? What are you going to do?
I would probably refer that one to the Superintendent Powers, who's been dealing with them.
Yeah, look, it's a complex sort of situation. It's a complex problem. You've got any number of different cultures here that do interact with each other on a daily basis. The level of respect amongst each of these communities, that's something that I can't answer specifically, but there are elected representatives of each community. We meet with them on a needs basis. We meet with them to be able to sort of address their concerns, address their issues, address any problems they may be experiencing. So, in terms of respect amongst elders and their community, I think that's really a difficult one to sort of address.
Two things, Superintendent. One, was there any charges, or will there be any charges from last night? And two, what are you doing today and the next few days as far as police presence?
All right. Charges last night, there'll be none laid. Probably a situation, as you saw, it was an extremely volatile situation, and if we attempted any sort of enforcement action, well, it would have just escalated that, and I'm quite confident we may have lost control of what was happening. I don't anticipate any charges being laid today. In terms of police presence, we're here to maintain a presence as a deterrent, as a source of advice and not goodwill, but just as a source of reassurance to the community that we are aware of what's going on. We're in control of what's going on. We're working to eliminate any further potential, any further trouble that may happen. So it's the unfortunate side effect of that is a disruption to the mums and dads of this community in their daily life. But we're working towards minimising that disruption and letting people get on with their lives.
You said this was sparked by a dispute between two families. What's the beef between the two families?
Oh, look, It's any number of instances. It relates initially to the damage of a car, then it just escalates from that point on. And look, I'll be quite frank in to say the influence and the involvement of people external to this city, external to this area, contributes significantly to what goes on. All the good work we do, the involvement or the involvement of someone else who's external and doesn't know the local issues comes in, they bring their 2 cents worth in, and it just deteriorates and it detracts and destroys all that work we've done.
So can you give us an example of that? What do you mean? Were people were friends coming in from other areas of Brisbane or Woodridge?
It could be family, could be friends, could be representatives. They're all well-intentioned and well-meaning. But unfortunately, this is a local issue. We're dealing with the local peoples, the local community elders. So let's keep it local. We can look after it from this point.
Wouldn't charging people send a message though that behaviour shouldn't be tolerated?
I'd hope it would. But charging would. But we operate under, police officers maintain a fair level of discretion in their day-to-day dealings with anyone that they come across. And discretion, obviously, in this instance, was perhaps the better option to take. There certainly was damage to the gentleman's fence, but we'll work with that afterwards, and we'll ensure that gets repaired anyway.
When was that car first damaged? When was the first car damaged? Was that Saturday
I believe it was
night?
on Saturday night. Saturday night was probably what kicked it all off. My understanding is the families have come together over that. They've resolved the issue, but as I said, it's just escalated from there with hot heads, rumour, innuendo, and the whole wheel's gone from there.
And you'll keep the street locked off today, most of the day, or?
Not blocked off, it's still accessible, by traffic, but obviously we need to maintain a presence, and unfortunately that's one of the strategies we have to use.
Noel, you weren't armed yesterday, your other officers were, but we didn't see any of them use any OC spray, any tasers. Is this an example of how to quell a situation without that sort of force?
Well, the use of force option of that's name of the presence obviously had some deterrent effect. Our communication was obviously, I think it would have been tragic if we had to resort to any of either OC spray or taser usage, or even worse. I think at the situation as it unfolded, it was there, and I said it looked terrible, but we were able to manage it at that level, and any use of force options would have dictated, situation then would have dictated what use of force options we used. So.
When did you said the two families have sort of come together and sorted it out. When did they sort of sit down and have a chat and resolve
I
things?
believe it was sometime shortly after the initial incident on Saturday night. It's just escalated from there, the involvement of other people, social media, it all
And is there
starts
any
from there.
meeting planned between elders today?
We're planning a meeting both with the Indigenous community. I've been speaking with the elders there already. We're planning a meeting with the Tongan community probably about midday or 1 p.m. just to try and resolve the situation. I said just try and throw a significant amount of oil on the water and just calm it down.
And where will that meeting likely be held?
We haven't really worked out the final details of that yet. But
And so that's just a meeting between police and the Tongan community?
we've been liaising with one group. It's only it's only right and appropriate that we deal with the other group and address the issues and try and mediate some sort of peaceful outcome. I'd like to be able to open the street up now. I'd like to be able to get my people out of here and get this community back to normal, back to the way it should be. But the circumstances that as they unfold today will dictate when we can, and when it's appropriate and when we feel safe and we can do it, we will open the streets.